Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick guide for the English versus Japanese matchup because it's one that I found catches me off guard every once in a while. If you don't have the right unit comp to deal with what they're doing, I think you can find yourself overwhelmed pretty quickly with their massive units. So let's just jump right into it here. We are going to be going up with the 2TC King kind of build order. So again, that's putting 7 onto food, rallying onto gold with 3, and then the rest on food until you're aging up with the Abbey of Kings, at which point you move on to the stone to get that second town center going. My opponent, however, of course, is the Japanese, and he is doing something that is very common right now with the Japanese, is some Dark Age pressure. Now, normally English doesn't even have to, even be worried about Dark Age pressure because they have the short bows on their villagers. But because of that reflective armor, those samurai are much harder to take down than you might expect. It's almost like having the English men-at-arms coming to your base, but in this case, they're the Japanese men-at-arms, and they're hard to deal with if you're not careful. So in this case, all you got to really do is focus on getting yourself up to the next stage and gathering enough gold. You can see he's looping around the back here. I am fortunate with a bit of a side gold. I almost lose a villager. Don't do that. Make sure that you're keeping your villagers safe as much as you possibly can. Again, he almost kills this one too. I do live with a sliver of HP on both and do manage to get enough gold to get up with the Abbey of Kings here, at which point I'm going to have a unit that's going to be able to deal with these much, much more effectively. At the same time, I'm now going for the stone. I'm a bit fortunate that he doesn't see the fact that I'm doing this. However, even if he did see, you can see that I have the town center range is really, really close to the edge of the stone, and he would be having a much harder time to harass me without taking some major damage on his unit there. So again, you get 5 onto stone, the rest are rallying onto the wood, while you have about 5 on food. And once you had that second town center up, you are again just going to be rallying onto food and building up that farm because you're going to want to be very quickly transitioning into castle with the white tower. But we can speed things up here a little bit as it continues along. He does manage to burn down my gold mine, but I don't care because I'm going to build my town center right here. See, he's taking a little bit of damage as he's trying to harass a little bit here. Again, I managed to lose no workers. I think it was more luck than good management in this particular situation, but it did work out for me. So, now that I have the king, I was able to chase him off. I didn't actually find this guy. He was there, but now my objective with the king is to go and harass. I did notice that his gold was over here, and I'm expecting, which is very typical of most Japanese players, that they're going to be going fast castle at this point into mounted samurai. So I go straight for the gold. He doesn't have a tower. I'm able to jump in, get one villager kill here. A little bit of damage onto my king, but it's okay. He heals it back up, and I'm still going to have some time. He also isn't even going to be gathering gold for a short period of time as a result of that very small harassment. As you can see back here, again, I'm just going for the food, building up my farm transition with the 11 villagers that I have on wood and the 7 that I have on gold. I like to grab wheelbarrow on my way up because there is a lot of walking. There's villagers going from town center to town center, walking back and forth from the farms, and it is quite useful. He does have spearmen now, so I bring my, spearmen. Now, so we bring back my knight back to the Abbey of Kings to heal up just a little bit there, which is good. He's now actually going for pro scouts, which is something I wasn't expecting. It's something I do notice later on. He's also going for a second town center, but the fact of the matter is that I'm already economically ahead, sitting at 39 compared to his 30 villagers, so in good shape there. We'll speed up a little bit because things don't get too intense or interesting until we do hit that castle age, at which point you do want to be thinking about a couple different things. As we age up here, I made a barracks first, and the reason for that is if he didn't go pro scouts, he would be hitting castle around now, and he might be having a mounted samurai in my base relatively quickly, and just having 1 or 2 spearmen completely negates that early pressure from that samurai. So I had that kind of as a backup just in case. I also noticed there were some easy walls that I could do to kind of prevent him from coming through the front side here, and with this all walled up, he's really going to have a hard time getting any kind of early pressure from his castle age, but the fact of the matter is, I actually get to castle before he does, so it's not even a problem. Now, what's next? You're going to want to be obviously producing from the White Tower, producing from barracks, producing from this archery range you made as well, and the comp you want to go for is Spearman Crossbow to start with. I'm also going to be trying to pick up as many relics as I can. I try to get really greedy and grab this one and this one here, which are relatively close to his base. I don't think I'm successful. I think I end up grabbing 3 this game. But again, you want to be grabbing as many as you possibly can. And the fact that I'm up earlier, he's only just going up to castle now, gives me that advantage to send the monks out and start grabbing those. I would say the relic distribution just, I don't know. Every once in a while it seems to favor one player or the other. I think it favored him a little bit, having these two like right in his base. This one kind of just around the corner. Anyways, I managed to get 3, so I was pretty happy with that based on the layout in this situation. So again, you're building up the spearman and crossbow mass, and the reason for that is you know that he's going to be going with some early mounted samurai pressure as soon as he hits castle. Most of the time that first Yorishiro is going straight into a stable, as you can see, and it causes increased production for these. They end up only taking 16 seconds to pop out, which is an insane amount of time for a very strong, heavily armored mounted unit. Things get a little bit messy here. I realize that he's going for pro scouts as he's now going after my deer, so I'm trying to stop him with little bits of that with some spearmen. Very quickly, he ends up coming in with the Samurai Yorishiro mounted samurai combination, and before I know it, and this is what I often get caught off guard by, my spearmen get absolutely decimated by these Onobagesha. So the Onobagesha are so strong, they melt spearmen, they melt crossbowmen if they can get on top, and they have increased movement speed, so it's very easy for them to run you down. And this is why, once you're sure that he's not just massing mounted samurai, what you want to do is you want to switch into man-at-arms, because that is the key to this composition. You want it to be doing man-at-arm crossbow. It's very food and gold heavy, but the good news is you already have a significant amount of your food locked up. With the White Tower, you have a good amount of base defense, so you're able to kind of maybe go out with these pocket resources a little bit, gather the additional gold. Well defended with some walls as well. And with all of that food and gold, again, you're wanting to go to the man-at-arms and crossbows, because otherwise you're just going to get shredded by these units right here. You can see them just wailing those, I don't even know what they're called. They're like spears with blades on the end, just absolutely cutting down my units. But if I'm able to keep my king alive, which I have been successfully doing so far, avoid some of the mounted samurai raids along the side, bring some people back to deal with that, just send those 2 spears to deal with him at the very end. I'm still in a decent economic lead. I think maybe I've been missing some villager production at some point, because he has caught up in a pretty significant way. But I am able to, thanks to the network of castles, and soon to be network of citadels as well, hold him off. He's doing a good job of actually capturing the sacred sites as well, kind of getting some additional map pressure. But you can see that this rush right here with this group of people, I get these man-at-arms at the front so that they can tank, so that it's not my crossbows that are taking these units. And I think I do end up, yeah, I'm able to kind of kite him back and forth and do some range damage. But this is a pretty dangerous composition for me to deal with right now, even with the number of man-at-arms that I have. I'm doing my best to snipe out the bannerman to make sure that he's not getting the bonus attack speed and damage as well. And you can see that front line of man-at-arms has given my crossbows the time that they need to shred through the remainder of his army. So there's no need to move into longbows like I sometimes make the mistake of doing. There's no need to, continue to make spearmen against these horsemen. He's not making anything that counters man-at-arms at the moment. Everything, your man-at-arms are just going to be sit there, tank the damage, do some damage in return, and make some good things happen. Again, I end up quite significantly behind on villagers here because I think I must have been completely distracted by some of these fights that we've been having. And as a result, he now actually has a bit of an economic lead, but I have the mass, and that's what's important. I can kind of sit here and kite back and forth, getting those man-at-arms up front, bringing some of them back around to deal with these horsemen. And again, he doesn't have anything to deal with those. And because they're upgraded fully with the hardened upgrade as well, they are able to tank a significant amount of damage and do a great job. This is another problem that I have against Japanese, is you really need trebuchets to deal with these shogunate castles. They do so much damage, the rockets are so oppressive, that it's absolutely necessary for you to be trebbing it down from a distance, because otherwise you're just going to be shredded as you're sitting down. I'm catching him in the middle of a bit of a farm transition here. So again, even though he has more villagers, I'm sitting here with a really strong army. I have trebuchets coming. I'm getting the outpost up for the attack speed bonus, and now I can kind of just sit here, and the game is in a really difficult spot for him at this point. I send a couple spearmen over to decap this sacred site, which at some point soon I start to make additional monks to go and grab the sacred sites for myself as well. I build a castle here in the front, and something I end up doing that kind of annoys him a little bit is I noticed that he was gathering gold here. I destroyed one of his forges. It took him a long time to notice actually that he was long distance mining back to his town center just to cause some annoyance. Make sure that he's not focusing too much on the army itself and being as distracting as possible. As you can see, he's now pulling some villagers from his food economy to sit there and repair. And now he goes in for the big final fight, but guess what? I'm under a defensive position, and he's going to have a really hard time breaking through that. You can see that the army count is not even close at this point. My man-at-arms are doing massive damage, even though he's sitting here with a good spring attack happening. And before you know it, his main town center is down, and he ends up surrendering. So that's something that I've learned in this English versus Japanese matchup, is you really want to focus on crossbow mass, early spears to deal with those mounted samurai, and as soon as he switches, because he will, into those Onna Geisha, it's man-at-arms time. And I added in a few spearmen here and there just to deal with some of the horsemen and mounted later, but the main focus of the army should definitely be those man-at-arms, because they're going to be tanking so much damage and allowing your crossbows, the main damage focus, to be doing so much damage in those major fights. So that's my thoughts on the English versus Japanese matchup. I have lost that more times than I care to admit, especially considering I think that English should be favored in that matchup. But it is a bit tricky. I think if you're not making the right decisions, I guess in the case of any matchup, if you're not making the right decisions, you're probably going to lose. And in this case, the man-at-arms are the key. So that's everything for me for now. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this helps you in your games, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.